There's three ways to end a contract, right? The first way is a breach of contract, meaning that one of the parties of the contract didn't hold up their end of the agreement. That's a breach of contract, which cancels the contract if the person who breaches the contract can't perform specific performance, is what it's called in law. So if they don't execute specific performance to catch the contract up, then the other party to the contract then revokes the contract. The lifespan of the contract is when both parties meet the agreement in the contract, that concludes business with that contract. The contract is predicated upon a fraud. All fraudulent contracts are automatically null and void, which takes us to the corporate contract of the United States that they was using to exercise corporate jurisdiction over the actual people of the land. This is what Taj be talking about when he say a de facto government, right? And he telling us we the de jure. The de jure is the ones who had a right to exercise galactic law or supreme law or God's law on earth. They assume the position of color of law. Just because they assume don't mean they right. So we already know that their whole system is false based on the illusion that somebody else have more right to what's yours than you do. So they not trying to keep it, they trying to control it as long as they can keep you from reclaiming it. How do you reclaim it? You can't use a system to reclaim it. Their system is designed that anything you do in a system proves you're an imbecile in law. Meaning that you don't know the cause of the contract. That means you can't activate any remedy. Where there is no remedy, you know what I'm saying, there can be no performance. So they already bankrupt. They've been bankrupt since the beginning. George Washington filed bankruptcy. Roosevelt filed bankruptcy in 07. That was George Dummy filed bankruptcy. They don't have any means except for our people that keep contracting with their corporate entities, the dead system. So long as we don't know, until a certain amount of us know, it can't flip. But it's going to get to critical mass sooner or later. Okay, so they brought two contracts with them when they came. One is the contract of the Bible, right, which had a 400-year lifespan. The second contract they brought 200 years later, the 200-year lifespan, right? That was the agreements we went over with George Washington that said we wouldn't know ourselves from them motherfuckers, right? That's the 200-year contract under the legal fiction. They only maintain their jurisdiction for the life of the contract because it was written in the blood of Crispus Attucks, right? And none of the blood of righteousness be spilt in vain, and they knew that. That's why they keep murdering the chiefs. And they still ain't stopped. But we ain't gonna stop them until we get unified and organized and understand what's taking place on the land. Now remember, 200 years of life of the contract. If they don't know the life of the contract, they can't do nothing about it. Okay, so they revisiting the dead contract. The more they revisit it, the longer it becomes in effect. It's only in effect because they keep revisiting the contract. Yeah, what is contract resurrected? So that's when you keep going back to the dead contract, reactivating things in the contract that already expired. Like the demand for you to have a driver's license is expired. The demand for your Social Security account is expired. All of the contracts that control your land and wealth has expired, or they either defaulted on them. They never upheld a single contract because they knew the contract was never with the original people. And that's why they had to write the 200-year contract in the blood of Crispus Attucks. Because now the contract under the blood rights has to be fulfilled. The contract is fulfilled July the 4th, 2019. So if they don't know that the contract has been fulfilled and the de facto corporation has been removed from the land and we in transitional government, they haven't been doing their research and their background work. Now they showed you, we didn't already show them where they gave us everything back in the Indigenous Rights Act. So all we have to do is return back to our original stuff and we get to take back what's rightfully ours. So who is responsible to inform the people in the de jure capacity of the death of the contract? So whose job is that? If the Moors can't tell you whose job that is, then they're not on top of their job. Because it's any one of the chiefs on the land who discovers the anomaly is obligated to report it to his people. It's up to the people to determine the course of action to take as a collective at that point. So we bring all of the chiefs on the land together to try to resolve the matter. So now, while I'm doing the alerting of the grassroots of our people, the chiefs is in the background having discussions on restoring the land. Even if they know all the stuff we said before, do they know how to reclaim the superior jurisdiction of the de jure, which means how to restore the law of the land in place of the law of the high seas, which was the admiralty law. First, we got to seize the flag of the de facto corporation, which was the admiralty flag, because they got us under salvage rights. The only way to be reclaimed from under the salvage right is to restore the jurisdiction of the land by staking the flag behind the flag of the Admiralty, which overthrows and occupies that seat, which was Nancy Pelosi's seat. We already did that. Then the next thing we had to do was we had to stake a totem pole because the feathers don't use flags. We use totem poles, right? They don't know nothing about that. To America was in the contract of the dollar bill. The contract stemmed from treaties Moors made with nations of Europe. No one could buy or sell without going through central banks using the markers or the mark that represent an IOU, which is an acronym for IOU, established an automatic debt. Debt equals slavery, which is concealed in the 14th Amendment. And this is how we put it in the public domain right here. Right? The 14th Amendment strips away the unalienable rights the God that is Queen of Heaven and Earth has given you as providence. When the banks, by way of Zionist Jews, or as we say, satanic Jews, are traced back, we get to the Crown of England, first city-state. Then you discover she maintains her economic control by renting the land her company sits on through her royal court of barristers, bar members, judges, and lawyers who trade your soul in bonds we call certificate of live birth, as in birthing the canal, portal of life, harbor, etc. But this was claiming the key.